anyone hear us?
Elias, stop talking.
There is something out there. There is something under us!
Do not move!
Dr. Mara Voss entered the Vardane Basin with her brother Elias and Ranger Jonah Reed, searching for their missing expedition team. The jungle was impossibly quiet. No birds. No insects. Mara found boot prints circling their camp, all facing inward. Elias checked the radio and heard his own voice whispering coordinates from somewhere beyond the trees. Before anyone could answer, 3 knocks echoed beneath their feet. The ground was breathing. They followed the coordinates toward a river that appeared on no map. Its black water flowed uphill between enormous roots. Jonah discovered the missing team's orange flag tied to a tree, still wet, though the fabric was dated 6 years earlier. Mara touched it and suddenly remembered a place she had never visited, a white clearing filled with hanging radios. Behind her, Elias whispered that something had copied his breathing. 91,789. At dusk, the jungle began changing around them. Trees stood where open ground had been minutes earlier, while trunks vanished again. Jonah marked their path with red tape, but each marker returned behind them. Mara realized the forest was not growing randomly, it was rearranging itself around their group. Then Elias found a metal expedition badge buried beneath moss. It belonged to Mara, dated 12 years before she was born. Inside an abandoned research station, they found photographs covering every wall. Each picture showed Mara, Elias, and Jonah standing in the same jungle, wearing different clothes and different decades of age. Mara recognized one photograph immediately. Her mother stood beside a tall, faceless silhouette. A cassette recorder clicked on by itself. Her mother's voice said, "Do not trust the forest." Then the dark silhouette slowly turned toward the camera. Mara discovered the station's journal hidden beneath a floorboard. The final entry explained the creature's name, the Hollow Walker. It did not hunt bodies. It hunted memories, wearing stolen voices and faces to make victims walk willingly into the deep jungle. The journal contained one terrifying warning inside: never answer when someone calls your name 3 times. Outside, Elias suddenly heard their missing teammate calling him. Once. Twice. 3 times. Elias stepped outside before Mara could stop him. Jonah grabbed his jacket, but Elias pointed toward the trees and said their father was standing there. Their father had died 15 years earlier. Mara looked carefully and saw only a silhouette smiling with Elias's face. Then another Elias appeared behind them inside the station. The real Elias screamed loudly. Both figures spoke simultaneously, asking Mara which brother she remembered. Mara refused to choose. She smashed the station's mirrors, and the false Elias vanished from every reflection. The real Elias collapsed, bleeding from his ears. Jonah found a hidden map beneath the broken glass, showing the jungle shaped like a gigantic human eye. At its center was a marked clearing labeled the first memory. Mara understood the creature's weakness: it needed someone to remember it before it could become real. They reached the clearing just before midnight. Thousands of pale roots hung from the canopy like veins, surrounding a circular pool. Above the water stood the Hollow Walker, impossibly tall and thin, its body wrapped in bark-like skin. Where its face should have been, dozens of stolen eyes opened. It spoke using Mara's mother's voice. "Remember me." Mara suddenly understood the worst truth: her mother had entered this jungle willingly. The creature showed Mara memories of her childhood, but each memory contained one impossible detail. Her mother had always warned her about the Vardane Basin, yet Mara had forgotten every warning. Elias realized the Hollow Walker had been feeding on their family's memories for generations. Jonah raised his rifle, but Mara stopped him. Killing the creature would erase everyone it had consumed. They needed another way to make it human again. Mara opened the expedition journal and began reading every victim's name aloud. Faces appeared beneath the pool, trapped inside the dark water. The hollow walker screamed as its stolen eyes closed one by one. Jonah remembered his missing wife. Elias remembered their father. Mara remembered her mother singing beside her bed. With every recovered memory, the creature's bark cracked, revealing human skin underneath. Then her mother slowly opened her eyes inside the pool. Her mother's voice begged Mara to stop, warning that the creature was using her final memory as bait. Mara hesitated, and the hollow walker attacked. Roots exploded from the ground, wrapping Jonah and dragging him toward the pool. Elias cut him free while Mara stepped into the water. The instant she touched her mother's hand, the entire jungle went silent. Every tree leaned inward, listening to what Mara would remember next. Mara remembered the truth she had buried deepest. She had been the only survivor of her mother's first expedition, and she had unknowingly carried the creature's memory out of the jungle. Her mother had sacrificed herself to contain it. The hollow walker had followed Mara for years, waiting for her to return. Mara finally understood why the jungle kept changing. It was rebuilding the path back to its missing memory. She pulled the memory from herself like a burning thread and placed it into the pool. The hollow walker convulsed, suddenly shrinking as thousands of voices escaped its body. The roots released Jonah immediately and silently. Elias collapsed beside Mara. For one breath, the creature became an ordinary human figure wearing her mother's face. She smiled sadly, whispered "Run," and disappeared beneath the water. Then the entire forest began collapsing toward them. The three survivors ran through falling trees while the river reversed direction around them. Jonah carried the injured Elias, and Mara followed the sound of her mother's voice guiding them toward daylight. Just before sunrise, they crossed the jungle boundary. Behind them, the Vardane Basin became completely silent. Their satellite map showed nothing there except untouched rainforest. Mara thought they were safe until Elias asked why her shadow was moving. Mara looked down and saw two shadows. One belonged to her. The other stood behind her, tall, although the sun was overhead. Jonah raised his weapon, but Mara stopped him. The shadow copied her movements, then pointed toward the jungle. Elias's radio crackled. Her mother's voice whispered coordinates again. This time, the numbers matched their current location. The hollow walker had not been trapped. It had learned the way out. Months later, Mara released the expedition recordings, hoping people would believe it. Authorities dismissed the story, and the Vardane Basin disappeared from official maps. Mara never returned. Yet every night at exactly 3:17, her radio activates by itself. A woman's voice whispers her name 3 times. Mara never answers aloud, ever. If you were trapped here, what would you do? Tell us in the comments. Tell us below tonight publicly. Subscribe for more Hollywood horror stories. If you were trapped inside that jungle, would you run, or would you try to uncover the truth? Tell us what you would do in the comments. And if this nightmare kept you watching until the end, leave a like. Subscribe for more original Hollywood-style horror stories, because some mysteries are better left forgotten.